Hi, we're Centered Heart Holistics, and we want to welcome you to tonight's class on meeting and working with your spirit guides.
Dum dum dum. Always a good one, because we have other people who talk to their spirit guides. We talk to our spirit guides, and that's one of the ways that we do sessions and all of our work. But it's really handy to just be able to talk to your own and not have to go to someone who talks to theirs and does the third person thing. And so we figured for our first web course that wasn't just total public access, we would start you off in the way that we started off, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Working with our guides.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really helpful. I just felt called to say right now that it's the best thing you can do for yourself in terms of spirit practice is develop your relationship with your spirit guides, because as Charis alluded to with not going through a third person, when you're coming through anyone else, even someone who's really skilled, even someone with a really open heart, those people can help you, we can help you, but you're always translating. And you're translating when you're talking to your spirit guides. There's already a translation. When you put a third person or a fourth person in the mix, you have another level of translation. So learning to talk to your own spirit guides yourself eliminates one whole level of possible confusion. And so all kinds of doors open up, among with other things that we're going to get to, of the benefits from talking with your spirit guides. But before we do that, let's open. So this is what we always do before we work together and before we do a session. And it's a good idea when you're learning something, especially something spiritual or something sacred, but really any time, is to open before you begin. So let's take a moment and just breathe. Feeling our breath bringing us into our bodies and into our space. And then we surround our space with white light, calling in all spirit guides, angels, fairies, helpful ETs, any kind of spirit guides that are helpful for our work together today and for our life purposes.
And requesting that the very highest and best version of ourselves, our personality, our intelligence, come and influence our thoughts, our actions, our words, our emotions, and our intuition.
Great.
All right. Before we get started taking you through your meeting, I just want to throw in that guides are not to be worshipped and they're not to be idolized. It's like having counselors, not like having something that you pray to. It's not like
having
that.
Deities hanging out with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, especially people who are of religious denominations and then think that this fights it, but it doesn't at all, actually. It's like having a stockbroker who you call and ask, where should I put my stocks? Like, okay, well, guys, should I work on A, B, or C today? What's the best one? Because they have a better view than us. It's like they're on the 12th floor and we're on the first floor, and so they can see what traffic is doing on the other block where we can't. That's all.
Yes.
So it's more of an equal type relationship. And so we just want to say that before we get started, so you won't think that, this isn't what it is.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about why you want to talk with your spirit guides. We said, it's better to know how to talk with your own, but let's talk a little bit for somebody who's never considered or has thought, well, that would be neat, but doesn't really know why. So let's talk a little bit about the value in each of our lives about working with your spirit guides and what that adds.
Okay, so
it's huge, but
it's a big subject, but yeah.
Let's see. Well, first of all, everyone has at least two, and usually many, many, many more spirit guides and different kinds of spirit guides, from angels to spirit animals to ETs to fairies to unicorns, even all kinds, as well as deceased family relatives who have decided and chosen to work with you and help you along this incarnation. There are many, many, many kinds of spirit guides, and everybody has plenty of them around them, at least two and usually many more. And the spirit guides are there to help with daily life, with huge life purpose, with facilitating your transitions as well as your interactions, helping you line up with the things that you desire, pretty much anything. If you ask and invite them in that area of your life, they're right there. And they're usually, every time you get through a breakthrough and a breakthrough is like letting them help, not I've struggled through this and now I figured it out. It's just a breakthrough in, oh, I could let this happen.
Mm.
Your spirit guides are back there cheering. Going, yes! They're going to let us do it. They're going to let us help because that's what they're here for. They're all around you. It's like having a team of helpers just waiting there going, could we help you with this? Oh, we could help with that. We could facilitate that. And they will. And so your life becomes, as you start to work with your spirit guides, let them in and also listen and then follow their directions.
Mm-hmm. That's the big one. Especially when it's something you don't really want to do.
But when you do that, every aspect of your life that you've allowed them into begins to flow more smoothly, more easily, more joyfully. Solutions come that you never even conceived of, and really simple, and often I always ask for them to feel magical and amazing, so they do. Mm-hmm. And it's just fabulous. So that wasn't really my personal experience, it was kind of an overview, but maybe then we'll switch back and forth.
The way it's been explained to me by my guides is like when I was in college, my college boyfriend loved to play a video game. He was driving a car, going around this little city and figuring out what to do and blah blah blah. And I was terrible at the game. I didn't play it. But what I did do was sit next to him when he played it, and there was the big part of the screen that was his, kind of secondish person perspective, and then on the side of the screen there was a little map. That was like kind of a GPS screen where it showed you where you were going. And so what I would do was look at the map and say, go right, go left, go right, go left, or whatever, to wherever he needed to get. And so he didn't have to look at the map. He could just focus on exactly what he was doing and rock the game twice as fast as anyone else because he had someone saying, go right, go left, and he didn't have to split his time. And that's exactly what it's like. Mm-hmm. They're not playing, they're not in physical form right now, but they're right next to us saying, go right, go left, or pick up that book, or talk to that person, or don't talk to that person, or whatever.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's how I understand it to be, and the more you kind of open up and practice, which we'll talk about, and the more used to it you get, you'll see. Sometimes it comes in lots of different forms, but often it comes in the form of a thought that's not you. And it's as if it were you, but it's not you. It's not your mental voice. And I know that sounds strange if you've never experienced it, but once you start, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. So, anyway, what is your personal experience, or the bit that you can compress enough to...
Yeah. My personal experience is vast. This is working with spirit guides, and for me, the first ones that I encountered and worked the most with is angels. And that's the angels telling me today to dress like them. As I was getting ready to come do the class, I'm going, really? Okay. But, at this point, I've been doing this work for 17 years, and mostly when they say something, not always, but mostly when they say something, I follow it, or at least I try to. And usually when I don't, it's in little ways. And I was just sharing with Charis, it was not long ago, I was in Walmart, and they said, pick this line. I'm going, that line really doesn't make any sense. I heard you, but I can't get my mind around it. I'm going to go in the other line, and if I'm wrong, whatever. I was 20 minutes wrong. As it was and it goes like that. But in the big ways, I've learned to listen because of all of the amazing things. I'm looking for just a simple, couple of examples. But, at this point, I let the guides help me out with every aspect of my life. So I've met my husband because of them. I have gotten right locations where I meet my coworker Charis, where I line up for the perfect school for my children. That's exactly what I was looking for. Where just recently my husband wanted to manifest trading our car, direct trade to an individual for this specific kind of van. And so we're going looking, and the guides are helping us line up with that, and that's exactly what we found. It's at this point it's anything, but in the beginning, I had a near-death experience and came back and was trying to figure out what is all of this, and the one thing that I had that I could guide me was I still had this connection going with my angels that I had never had before, and they were guiding me through the process. And at that point in my life, things were, on one hand pretty amazing because I just had this near-death experience, but they were also really rocky, and everything was changing around me, and everything was hard, and I didn't know how to manage everything. I had been a pretty angry person up until that point, and it was not always, but I had gotten to that space. And so it was a more now it's very fun and loose. At that point, it was a very almost desperate, how do I do this? How do I get through my day that feels scary, or that feels like there's anger all around me and I'm angry, and how do I be in a different space? And they were right there to help me, show me little things. And like Charis said, link me up with, well, if you talk to this person, I'm not talking to that person looks crazy. But if you talk to them, talk to her, you'll learn something. I go, okay, fine. And I'd talk to someone and hear exactly what I needed to hear that would transform my day, that would help me get through, and also, at that point, help me link up with, okay, how am I going to blend these realities that I'm experiencing? And since then, I've been guiding, immediately they began guiding me to guide other people. And so I've been helping other people connect with their guides and connect with the energy fields and the transformations. And you can't even, it could talk for 4 hours at least, nonstop, about all of the transformational things that we've experienced. But the simple thing is the way that it can certainly lighten your load, and then after your load is lightened enough to really let joyful existence and playfulness into your heart in a real way, then it makes your road amazing. And a joyful, wondrous path that you kind of skip along while still getting things done. So wherever you are, talking to your guides is helpful. So that's why we're so excited to help you with that.
It's a nice bypass for a lot of difficulties that you might have to learn the hard way. Yeah. Easy way versus hard way, like the standing in line thing.
It's like, well, okay, stand in line if you want to.
Mine was a little bit rocky too. I thought I was going crazy for a while, and kind of diagnosed myself because I wasn't raised to believe any of this. And so, and in fact, not only not believe it, but think that if anything ever did happen, it was terrifying and scary and demons. So that was a challenge. And then hearing voices and being totally attracted to certain pieces of information as if it's glowing in my mind. And I'll look at a book and I'm kind of mesmerized by it. And that's kind of how mine goes. Even now, I'll see something and it'll kind of glow. And it doesn't actually physically glow, but it's like I just keep looking at the same thing. And so I'll finally go pick it up, whatever it is, and find the exact information that sometimes I knew I was looking for, sometimes I didn't. But what started with me was hearing voices and it wasn't auditory, it was like a thought, but it wasn't mine, because it would be stuff that I didn't know, or seeing something that I had never seen before, ever. And so it wouldn't really make sense that my imagination could have just popped that out. Right. And the major thing that happened that made me believe that it wasn't hallucinations and that it was actual information was that something happened in traffic. And I was told what would happen in traffic, not in a feeling, intuitive way, but words in my brain. That person is going to do this thing, and you need to do this, or else you could be hurt. And then about 3 seconds later, it happened. And so that's when it went to a whole new level of weirdness and said, okay, well, this isn't a hallucination, so what the heck is it? Time to do more research. And most of you watching this probably won't go through the intense stuff that we did, because I think normally it's gentler, but I think that with our specific paths, it had to be this really intense thing so that we would kind of have the fire to go out and do what we're doing and like speak about it and do all this kind of stuff. Which is our last purpose, which is different than using it as a tool. Right. It's kind of like someone who paints for their passion and their living. Painting won't leave them alone until they do it, versus someone who kind of sketches and doodles in the margins for fun. And both of them are useful, but it's one will knock your door down if you don't do it, and the other one you can choose your pace. So that's mostly what happened, and it's kind of gotten more and more. Now I can kind of tell who it is that's talking to me. If it's the angelic realm, they kind of have a different feel than the extraterrestrial realm, kind of have a different feel than the more Davic, earth-based, like fairy realm and elves and that kind of thing, the nature spirits. And so but that's after a bunch of years. Right now, all it's really the first thing to do is connect with your main one or two and start the bridge there, and then it can expand if you want it to, or you can just kind of always have one little advisor who tells you stuff that you request. And for tonight, we're just going to
we acknowledge that there's many realms and there's many kinds of spirit guides, and you probably already have many, many different ones around you. But like Charis said, you have 2 at least, and then maybe some other main spirit helpers, and it just kind of depends on your spiritual lineage, and let's just go with that. Well, maybe we'll do another class on all that later.
Yeah, we probably should.
But you have 2 main advisors, spirit guides who are with you, and we're going to take you through a process to connect with them and then strengthen your daily connection, and then give you some keys and clues for how to find that connection and amplify it, as long as we have time, as well as some fine-tuning after the end of that. So we're just any of the spirit guides, as we guide you through the process, whoever they are, you might see, some wings, you might get an angelic type of feeling, you might get, an ET type of feeling, you might get fairies around you. They're all spirit guides, and we're just going to call the ones that are working with you, have been working with you since you were first born, that are the ones who are going to help you.
It might be an animal. You might not see anything but get a smell or a sound or just a feeling, and so be open to whatever happens, and don't edit or analyze until afterward. Just kind of go with it as it's happening. That's the easiest way.
Yes. So, yeah. So let's I'll guide you through a process and connect with your spirit guides, and you can watch and listen and kind of take it in first and then come back and play through it. Or if you're ready right now and you're like, I want to meet my spirit guides in a second, then go ahead and move through it with us. And you can come back. That's the nice thing about having this recording. You can come back, and each time that you listen to it again, you'll meet with your spirit guides again in the same way and strengthen that connection. So this will be a wonderful process for you to come back to whenever you want to reconnect.
It would be good to write this down directly afterward. I would advise you, whatever happens. I would advise you to pause it right before we start. Even right now is good, and go grab a pen and a piece of paper, and then after you come out of the exercise, pause us again, and write down exactly what happened, because a lot of times these meditative journeys are a lot like dreams, and they'll go from you if you don't write them down, especially at first. If you don't somehow record it, by the time 5 minutes are gone, you'll forget all but a couple things that happened.
So yeah, if you're a writing person, but I have to throw in there because we work, Charis and I, one of the great things working together is that, you get 2 different perspectives and you're like, oh yeah, that's going to work for me. And then I have the exact opposite reaction. Like, I absolutely cannot write about it or let my analytical mind come in at all right in the beginning, and writing will trigger that for me. So
what about voice recorder? Or
no, I have to just leave it alone.
You can't record it at all.
And I don't need to.
Oh, okay. So
for Charis it would be fun, but for me it's important not to, and to just let the whole experience and trust that whatever I remember is ideal, and whatever else will come up or is integrating in other ways, and to just trust the process and leave it alone.
So there you go. You have full spectrum. Do whatever you want. Yeah.
So whichever you feel called toward, as you're thinking about it. One felt like, oh yeah, and the other didn't, and so go either way with it.
Yeah, sure. And also, doesn't have to be writing, recording. If you want to, you could draw something. You could even do some movement or something if you want to. Because if this is your first time, people often forget so much. And if you're cool with forgetting, then that's great. Or if you're cool with integrating it in another way, that's fine. I don't think that you have to grasp it. But if you want to remember it, to maybe have a token to help you the next time, then do it in whatever way feels right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so just take a moment and close your eyes. Feel yourself relaxing. If you can, lie down or recline and get yourself really comfortable and really relaxed. Let your breath sink you more deeply into your body, connecting you more fully. Good. And now I'd like you to take in 3 long, slow breaths and release them very gently and easily. Good. And now imagine as if you have an eraser, or you see a big eraser coming along the edges of your awareness and the edges of your body, just softening. And say the words as the softening is happening. Relax and soften. Relax and soften. And let your breath begin to flow, taking you more relaxed and more soft and more even with each breath. And now I'd like you to see, feel, imagine or know that there's an elevator right in front of you. And you're going to take this elevator when its doors open, which they open now. Whoosh. Step into the elevator and let it descend, taking you to a place of perfect relaxation. As you open the doors, you step out and find yourself in a lovely room. Look around you and let yourself feel, see, know, or experience the room around you. It might have jewel-encrusted walls. It might be soft and welcoming. It might even feel like your first home, if your first home felt wonderful and welcoming to you. But this is a perfect room for rejuvenation, for exploration, and for beginning journeys. And it can be a room you come back to many, many times. And now from this room, I'd like you to find a doorway. If no doorway immediately comes to you, then let it be directly in the wall in front of you. And you go to the doorway filled with a wonderful feeling of anticipation. You're going to go outside in a place in nature, a garden, perhaps, or a grove in the woods, or maybe it's a place by the ocean. But you're going through this doorway into a beautiful spot in nature, so go there now. And now you take a moment just to relax here. You might imagine that you're sitting down or lying down, or just standing, wandering slowly, letting your senses be filled, cleared, rejuvenated by this ideal spot in nature for you. And just take a moment now and take in the restoration, the clearing, and the infusing with magic, with spirit, with joy, and with love. And now turn around and notice with gentle awe that there's a stairway right there in nature that you didn't notice before. You know that the stairway is going to take you up to meet with your spirit guides. Perhaps just one of them, or perhaps two of them. You notice the color of the stairs, and if there's a banister. And you go over to the stairway and put your hand on the banister and notice how it feels. How wonderful it feels under your hand, or the look of it, or simply knowing it's there, and how stable and well-formed it feels in your hand. And then you begin to walk up the stairs toward a blue door at the top. So you ascend up the stairs. 1, 2, looking at your feet on the stairs. 3, 4, 5, almost wanting to run. 6, 7, and running quickly up the last. 8, 9, 10, and opening the door and stepping into a beautiful room. And here in this room, you notice a warm, welcoming, loving presence. You may hear your spirit guide saying, "Welcome, we've been waiting for you." And now take a moment and connect with them. trust whatever is happening. And now ask your spirit guides or guide to embrace you. You may see, feel, or sense their presence coming toward you, or simply know that it's happening as your guides move and embrace you, attuning your energy with theirs more clearly and helping your connections and your communications to flow easily and gently. Feel your muscles, your mind, and even your cells relaxing into the embrace and welcoming this deep connection. And breathe in the connection more fully and swallow, sealing it within you. And now, if you like, ask your guides for a symbol, a hand position, a simple word or a color to use to call them whenever you want to talk with them. And now, if you feel like if you imagine you didn't receive a symbol or you're worried that it wasn't right, pick one of your own. If you already have one, leave that. But if you like, pick one and ask your guides to use that symbol or that word or color, whatever it is. Wonderful. And now take a moment and ask your guides if they have any message for you now, which may come in words or in many other ways, and receive it. And now, thank your guide or your guides for meeting with you here, and know you can come back here on your own or listening to this recording at any time to meet with them and have many more communications. If you're listening to have further communications, stop the recording now to stay where you are. And otherwise, thank your guides and move back over to the door, taking your symbol with you as well as your greater attuned connection. Place your hand on the banister and begin to descend down the stairway, letting the door close behind you only for now. 10, 9, 8, knowing your connection is clear and strong now, more strong than it's ever been. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back in your space in nature. Look around you in your ideal spot in nature and let the experience you just had with your guides integrate for a moment. Take in also all that the nature spot is infusing you with. Because you're so open now, you may see animals coming towards you that are your animal spirit guides, and if that happens, take that in as well. Notice the flowers or the smells, the sounds around you, or just the feeling of relaxation and comfort. You can come back here anytime you like as well. But for now, find the doorway that takes you back to your entrance room and move through it. Look around and appreciate the room. But we won't sit and rest here for now. But also, this is a place you can come back to start many journeys and explorations with your spirit guides or with other spiritual practices. But for now, go back over to the elevator and let the doors open. Whoosh. Go back in and let the elevator bring you back to your here and now, to your body and your awareness. The door's open, and here you are. And let your eyes gently open. Feel your body. Look with a soft gaze around the room. And if you're going to write and go with the experience, now is the moment to turn it off now and write or work with your experience. And if not, here we are.
That was good. Oh, I feel like I've been somewhere. We're going to talk about that later. Oh my goodness.
Is there anything that you want to share with your experience with our listeners?
Well, I'm very visual, so there were lots of visual details in the places, because Kim's never led me through that one before. So, lots of very interesting. Every time I would walk in a new room, I'd be like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" And
I think you're right with later. But maybe so what did it feel like, the connection with your guides?
Well,
that people might feel like, oh, I felt like that. It worked.
Yeah. Well, when I opened the door, and you said to step in, I wasn't quite sure what it would be like. So I went in. And then I was waiting to see what was going to happen, because your words were the guide, like the map. So I waited, and then there was a center place where, because I'm already in contact with my guides, but I didn't know who was going to come, because I'm in contact with a few, so I didn't know who it was going to be, but it was my main one, who I nicknamed my rhythm teacher. But it didn't look like he normally looks. It was kind of like a lot of light in the room, then solidified into kind of and then we were talking, and then when we embraced, it was much reminiscent of when I was a child or a baby and hugging my dad, and in where my head was maybe like about here on the chest, and he was tall, and I was standing up and feeling the arms around, and I was feeling these kind of energetic tingles all over.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they showed me a hand position, which I had not seen before, so I look forward to trying that out and seeing what happens.
Good.
So yeah, it was very good.
Cool. So you may have noticed some similar things, but each person's experience is unique. So just play with it, and you'll notice it getting stronger as you do that. And now we want to talk a little bit about fine-tuning your connection and exploring with it. Now that you have your symbol, what do you do with it?
Well, it's very much recommended to use this daily as much as you can. I mean, the thing about daily practice is that often it feels like it's a hard thing, but we're talking 2 or 3 minutes, and just about every single person can fit in 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, it's really, even when you're, in the bathroom or something, like it exists. Yeah. Or in the shower is actually a great place.
That's where I love to
talk
it's first thing in the morning.
Yeah, clearest communication that you get, I think. And if you do it for 2 or 3 minutes, like Kim said before we started recording, she said, we have to tell them 2 or 3 minutes every day is much better than a half hour or even an hour once a week. Once a month. Yeah. It's a lot like practicing an instrument. You're learning muscle memory, but not muscle memory in your fingers. It's in your neuronal connections and in your energetic lines and things like that. So it's a good idea to keep the steady stream going. And what?
When you don't, I was just one of my techniques is to write with my angels on my keyboard. And I was writing with last night, and I'm like, this feels a little stiff. And they said, look at the date. And the last time that I did it, I've been talking with them regularly, but that kind of where we download a lot of information, I hadn't done it in a week. And it was like, no wonder.
Yeah.
So really every day, just a little bit.
So. One of the things that I always do before I connect with mine too is balance my energy system. And I find that that's like cleaning a window, kind of. And that's an easy thing to do. And we've actually done a free web class on it, so you can look and see it if you want, and then kind of add that 30-second thing in before if you want to.
So that would be the last, there's a clearing the last minute of our maintaining your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
So we condensed the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
right at the end. And maybe we could get that out there on YouTube. But anyway, we condensed that last minute, and Charis takes you through how to clear your whole field.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be wonderful to do right before you
Yeah.
use your symbol or your word to call your spirit guides.
Yeah, and then it'll be much easier, and kind of similar to what Kim was saying. If I don't meditate for a couple days, when I go through to clear my energy systems, it's just like, oh my gosh, I have to wait for my crown chakra, and I have to wait for my third chakra, and I'm like, ugh. And it's because the gunk accumulates. It's as if you hadn't showered.
Right.
And then rather than just, you have to kind of, to get the gunk off.
Right.
So, that's a good idea, and it makes it easier, the constant. And part of it is hearing things in your mind. That's part of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
But also, stuff comes through into the physical world. Like Kim was saying, talk to this person, or pick this up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It happens, too, that, for instance, songs on the radio are fantastic ways that people's guides come through. I mean, it can be a song you've heard a million times, and that for some reason it kind of glows in your awareness like that, and you really listen to the lyrics, and then you realize it's an answer to a question you've been asking your guide.
Yes.
Or it's the perfect advice you need right there in the moment with something you just struggled with 5 minutes ago, or something like that. Also, little messages. I often find the words that people put on their license plates. Usually, if I'm driving and I see a word on a license plate, it's very relevant to whatever I'm going through. Bumper stickers are kind of like that.
Number patterns.
Number patterns, definitely. And that's something to look up. That's an easy thing to do an internet search on, seeing what multiple 1s or 2s or 3s mean. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of people have, like, their 2 or 3 numbers that they see repeated a lot. Mm-hmm. And other ones kind of come and go, but they do all have specific messages they're trying to get through. If you see 1s or 2s or whatever, they're different stuff. So, yeah, that's good. And also gifts people give you, or things that people just randomly say to you. Yeah, a good time to listen is when people's voices change. And if they talk really funny all of a sudden, or they say a joke like this, or their voice kind of goes up or down, there are 2 things that are happening there. One, either they're saying what they really think, and often they'll do it in a joke. Or and that's what they really think deep down, or they're channeling something for you
without realizing.
Yeah. Right. So just, it's back to that mindfulness thing. Just be open. Yeah. And
so what it'll be like is, so you decide in your 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so you're going to use your symbol or your word, and you're calling your guide. And if this is the first time you're doing it, you may feel a little bit like, I'm making this up. I'm imagining this, and that's okay. A lot of the space that you imagine with, which I would say is on the astral plane, is a lot of where your spirit guides can connect with you. They live on their own planes, but our connection spaces are on the astral plane and on that same place that we imagine. So being playful and being creative is a good thing, but maybe we'll say more about that later. But so you're going to use your symbol or your word or whatever it is to connect with your spirit guide, and then you're going to just say something like, I want to connect with you. And then you relax and you feel that connection feeling. Or you're going to ask a specific question, and Charis is going to do something with that later, so I'm not going to say any more about that, but you're going to, ask a question, or you're going to ask for help with a certain area of your life. And you may start to get information. If in the beginning you may not. It may help to have a notebook there and write, and automatically write whatever you think you're getting, as some people do that practice, or to note your impressions. Or you may experience nothing and you're like, this isn't working, but remember that it is. Remember that if you've called them, they are there and helping you, always, every time. And we might talk about, I think it'll be another class, but perhaps a few moments at the end of this one, about when it feels like it's not happening, what's really going on. But if you've called them and you've asked for help with something, they're helping. So take a moment and just feel that. If nothing feels like it's coming, you may be getting impressions in your mind, you may not, you may be blocking them, but they're there. So feel the connection. And then that's when you go through your day and observe. If nothing comes in words, now you observe all the things that Charis was just saying. Oh, that's right, I asked that question, and now all this is happening. And that's the ways that they're getting it through. And they will find the ways that are the best for you to get the message through. And especially if you've asked for it. So
Yeah, it's easiest, and we'll go through it in just a second, but to ask a question and then just try to be as blank as you can until something comes through, if it does. And that's the thing about meditation and any type of meditative techniques. It is extremely frustrating at first. Extremely. And I would say it's about 2 weeks before things get really flowing. You know, normally, what I've heard is a lot of times every day. And for those first 2 weeks, it kind of sucks. And you
Wait a minute.
Well, no.
It could.
Every single person I've ever spoken to who is learning meditation, everyone. So there are exceptions, definitely. Yeah. But if you get frustrated, if you get, you know, and it doesn't suck, it's not like it's unpleasant. It's just that it feels like nothing's happening. And it feels like, if you're not being guided, if you're not being led, sometimes when you are being led, but it's because it's like learning to walk, it's like learning to ride a bike, it's like learning to do anything that's totally new to you. At first, it's not likely to just start flowing. You might be a meditation prodigy, which happens, but if the other thing happens, don't stop trying.
Yes. I'm just getting this. Okay, yes. And they're going, yes, most people do say that, and this is one of the ways that spirits get your attention is like in ear ringing or pressure changes. So what just happened there is I'm listening to Charis, I'm going, really? And then I'm experiencing this, it feels as if I was coming out of an airplane in just one ear. And it goes, ooh, and wait, you know, but it doesn't hurt. It's just that feeling of I can't hear, something's a little, because they're trying to whisper in my ear. So you may experience those feelings too. But what they were just saying was, yes, that's how most people are experiencing it, but there's absolutely no reason for it to be like that. That it be hard. If you simply know in your mind that it is working, and then only do it for 30 seconds. Don't even, if you're in that beginning phase and it didn't work, you know, then actually don't even try it for 3 minutes the first time. If you've never done this before, you're going to do 30 seconds and that's it. And you're going to know this is working, this is building my connection. It's like if you were getting on a bike, and have you noticed they have these bikes now for children learning that don't have any pedals? They used them in Europe and now they use them here. And instead of trying to get the kid to figure out how to, they just walk along with it and balance and pick your feet up for a little mini beep. And you've got kids learning to ride their bikes at 2 and now it's easy. And it's the same thing. Okay, so you're going to go, I call my symbol and it's 30 seconds of just breathing. I ask, I connect, and that's it, stop. And then know that's all you're going to do. And that frustration and that difficult feeling of this isn't working and I really want this and it's not working, there's no need to experience that. If you do, it's okay. But that's what they're just telling me. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, so, it might be glorious from the beginning, and if that's the case, then great. But I just want to make sure that if it's not, you don't say, oh my gosh, I'm doing something wrong, or this doesn't work, or whatever. There is that pushing through that is very commonly experienced. And then once you're through, you're through. It doesn't really get hard again. You're kind of done with the hard part. So, yeah, just be aware that might happen. So, let's do the question. Okay. So, get a question in mind. The easiest one to use, if you haven't done this before, is what is it most beneficial for me to focus on in my daily life right now? Okay. And you'll use this, if you're watching this video at night, you'll use it the next day and this night. If you're watching it in the morning, make it for about a day. Because then, if you're supposed to do this every day, you'd have stuff pile up, so don't ask for this year or this month, just ask for it today. Okay. So, get yourself into a comfortable position. Lying or sitting, or if you're sitting up, make sure that your vertebrae are stacked on each other like a pile of building blocks or bricks, and so you can hold yourself up by balance rather than by muscles. I'm against the chair. Go for it. Physical wings make it hard.
Okay, I'm ready.
And once you're sitting, watch your breath. And let it reach a steady rhythm. And so just take a couple of seconds to kind of let it flow in and out on its own time. And once it kind of has a little rhythm, then relax your feet and your ankles and your lower legs, your knees, your thighs, your hips and your pelvis, your lower stomach and your lower back, your middle abdominals and all your internal organs. Just imagine them releasing and relaxing. And then your lungs, your rib cage, your mid-back. Let your heart release and kind of find its good rhythm of health without any stress. Let your shoulder blades relax and your chest muscles. Let the tops of your shoulders relax and let it spill down to your shoulder joints, your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms and wrists, palms, thumb, and all your fingers. Now let it come to the back of your neck and move up the back of your neck. The back of your head relaxes, the top of your head relaxes, moving around to each of your ears, moving down toward your forehead. Your hairline relaxes, your forehead, eyebrows, temples, eyes, upper eyelid, lower eyelid, nose, cheeks, upper lip, lower lip, tongue, jaw, and jaw muscles. And now your neck, down to your clavicles. Do a quick once over of your body with your consciousness. Make sure no part has tensed back up again. If it has, just release it. Let yourself float here for a moment. Now, while your breath is still steady and you're still very, very relaxed, allow yourself to gently and slowly do whatever connection object came to you. If it's to make a hand symbol, do that. If it's an actual symbol, draw it in your mind's eye. It's good to have kind of a dark or gray screen and then draw it in light, or like you're drawing on a chalkboard, or like you have a sparkler and you're making a design in the air at night. And once you have that firmly in mind, or once your hand is firmly in that position, or whatever way that you're using, let yourself release for a moment and say, with love, I'm calling in my highest guide. And now, even if you're not super aware, that's okay, because they're definitely paying attention to you, ask your question. Either the one that I suggested or one of your own. If you're asking the one that I suggested, just send it out with your mind. What is it that it would most benefit me to focus on right now in the next 24 hours? Now, once the question is asked, release it as if you were releasing a balloon into the air. And know that your guide has received it and is going to answer you. So allow yourself to just float with kind of a gray thought screen. If any thoughts start to come into your mind, pay attention to them. Don't grab them, but pay attention and just listen as if you're listening to background music. And if you've gotten something, you can ask for a little more clarification or detail if you wish. And now, send love to your guide and gratitude. And ask if there's anything else that wishes to be communicated right now. And then relax again and listen with your mind. And then thank your guide and take some deep breaths. Be aware of your lungs, be aware of your face and of your head, shoulders, arms, legs, trunk. Wiggle your fingers and toes a little, and then very gently open your eyes and come back. So,
Thank you.
You, what did you think? What happened?
It was great. And I loved when you sent the balloon off. My guides, actually I'm not usually that visual. It comes more in energy colors, but I had a flash of my guide, an actual visual, and it was one of my male guides, and he grabbed the balloon. And I went, oh, I got it.
That's cool.
And it was a red balloon, which is what I always liked as a kid, and he grabbed the red balloon, and then I had the impression, it wasn't exactly words, I had the impression of, we get to guide the whole day.
Ooh, cool.
And they were like, just let us do it. No, they didn't want to tell me words or information, and I just asked the question that you gave, and so it was just, we get to guide the whole day, which will be the night, and then, until, well, I'll probably ask again in the morning, because they really were like, 24 hours? Ooh! So, I think I'll do that for 24 hours, and just, even little things, like, they wanted me to put this outfit on, but they were like, even more? Oh, great.
Ooh, that should be fun. Yeah. I look forward to hearing what happens.
Oh, thank you. That was nice.
Good. All right, so we have about 10 more minutes.
Okay. Oh, there goes my ear. So, hang on, we're being guided what we're going to do for 10 minutes. So I already told you about how it feels with your ear. Oh, about turning it down. So one of the things we were really going to talk about, and I'm glad we have some minutes left to do it, is that one of the things that people don't realize about working with your spirit guides is that it's a relationship. And they're not God, as we already said in the beginning, and they're not something to be worshipped. They're helpers, and they have a different perspective than we have, and they certainly are less attached than we are, or that your friends and family are, to the results in your life. So they're very helpful in that way, but they also can see things differently, and they can work differently. So they're great helpers, but they're not perfect. They have their own failings, and you're in a relationship with them, so you need to communicate with them about what works for you and what doesn't. And a lot of people don't realize that, and then also because of religious upbringing, they also think, or other things, that they have certain things that they're like, oh, I can't ask about that. You know, so they don't want to ask for help with their sex lives, or they don't want to ask for help with the things that they feel guilty about. You know, the really angry, negative feelings, or the way that they're judgmental, or things that they don't want to have a conversation with their guides about those things. But it's a relationship, and it's a relationship with people who already know, beings that already know what you're going through anyway. And
them.
Yeah, and they don't have any judgment at all. That's not one of their failings, is judgment. But for example, one of the simplest things is, for a long time, if something wasn't coming through in the simple way and they really wanted to get my attention, my guides, they would start to press at certain points in my head in a way that hurt. You know, not like lasting hurt. As soon as I paid attention, it would lift. But I would get this really painful headache coming in different places, and I'd go, oh, wait, and I'd have to tune in, and then finally, and I was forgetting to change that, and Charis said, you could ask that, that they do it a different way. I'm like, oh yeah, right, and so since then they've stopped doing that, and as soon as I asked, could you not press on my head in that way, but what they said, it's a two-way street. They said, sure, are you going to listen? Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, what do you mean? I always listen. Like, no. A lot of times when they do the pressure change, I'm like, oh, angelic presence, wonderful, but I don't stop what I'm doing. Or I wasn't. Just, whoom, what? And that's, I've been asking for them to guide and talk to me that clearly, but then when they would show up in subtle ways, I would, I notice, and if it wasn't immediately there, I'd keep going. Whereas obviously if something's crushing your head, you're going to stop what you're doing and figure it out. So that's what they were like, oh, it works. But for me, it was like, well, that's not working for me. I don't want my head to hurt 50 times a day when you're trying to get my attention. Mm-hmm. So what do we do that's different? And, in the same way, you can ask them to tune down things that are happening, speak more clearly, give more specific details, lots of things, and then listen to their feedback too.
Yeah, mine usually tends to be detail, and often, and this happens to us on like a daily basis, that we'll just forget that there are certain areas that we can ask about. Right. Like today, what was it? Something was happening with your daughter. Her birthday's coming up, and she had kind of changed her mind on a toy she wanted. And Kim was like, "Oh no, the toy's already here. You're saying that she wanted another one." And then, in the midst of all this stuff, she says, "Oh yeah, I could ask them about that and see." And then it ended up okay. But same with me too, especially if I'm frustrated or if there's a lot going on. I'll forget that I can just say, "Can I get a little help in this area?" Or what decision should I make? Or, and this is a big one, help me to mold my words for the best effect, especially if it's a difficult conversation, or if you're going to do something that you don't really want to do, like someone's pulling you over to give you a ticket or something like that. Please help this work out the best way that it possibly can. So,
which doesn't always mean that it will happen the way you want, and that's an important thing. I like that too with working with guides. If what you're asking for doesn't really serve, then it won't happen. Anyway, so that's a nice thing about working with guides and asking their assistants is, will it happen? But then you're going, well, I asked you to, not let me get a ticket, and I got a ticket. Why aren't you helping me?
Maybe you needed to get a ticket.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what, other things that are happening. But if you ask for, let the best thing happen, and that's probably too long of a story, but there's lots of great stories. But then all of a sudden you get a ticket, but you feel uplifted, and he is so smiley, and the police officer is so smiling and pleasant, and you are, and everything went peaceful, and it happened quickly, and there's ways that you'll notice, and especially as you pay attention, that when you've asked for things that it comes in. And one of the big things, how many more minutes do we have?
About 6.
Okay, so that's brief, and then we'll see what else is. But when it feels like they're not answering, or it feels like you've gotten a flow going, say you're a few months into this, or you're a few years into this, and it feels like I'm not really getting responses, and it feels like I'm not connecting with my spirit guides, 2 things can be happening. One, your mind can be interfering by you're doing the same method, and so that's why there's a million methods out there, and trying different ones, because your tried and true, if you're blocking, will suddenly stop working sometimes, because it's like you need to mix it up and let it come through different avenues, that you're only hearing certain things and you need to hear new things and have new experiences. So trying a different method. If that doesn't work, then what I've found most likely is going on is that there's a very specific message that's been coming through, and it's been coming through for a while, and you don't want to hear it. And if it feels like nothing is happening to get the communication flow going again, a lot of times, and I got to a place of, it had been, I don't know, I want to say even like a couple months, and I felt like, other than our like good morning, we're not really talking, and I kind of got mad about it. What, you guys aren't with me? That doesn't make any sense. What's going on? So, well, this, and I forget what it even was at the time, but it's like, we've been saying this for a while, and you didn't want to hear it.
It was that they wanted you to type. Wasn't that it? It was something about your. I remember, because it wasn't that you needed to write with them. It was that you needed to write about something else or something that they were helping.
Well, that happened too. I think this was a different thing, but that did happen too.
But yeah. So they're telling you, or a lot of times if it's the thing that you're most unhappy about in your life, it's somehow related to that. Because usually that'll happen when you're also really frustrated about something else going on that feels like it's not the same. But what's probably happening is this thing is getting bigger and bigger, so you'll pay attention to it and do whatever you need to do to graduate from that challenge, and then everything will start flowing again.
And so, and then, what did I want to say? Oh, that the angels respect your free will. And so if they're trying to say something and you're going, no way, I'm not doing that, they will stop saying it. But if that's the answer to the question and you don't want to hear it, then it's not that they stop being there, but they stop answering, because you don't want to hear that answer, and you're allowed not to hear that answer. So, check in with that. I found that with a number of clients too, is, they're suddenly going, I'm not getting, it's because if you don't want help with that, and your actions are showing, no way, don't talk to me about that, I'm not changing this area of my life. Okay. Then they stop telling you to change that area of your life. Unless, there's a very specific reason that has to do with your life purpose, that they're, shouting down at you. But so then you tune in and allow that to change, and then then ask them for help, that it goes smoothly, and then it starts to flow again.
Yeah. And not only them, but the universal law of attraction type stuff that we talk about. There are 2 main things that are related to talking to guides, and one is, if you have something that you're supposed to do, accomplish, experience, does not matter often if you're trying to push it away. Usually the things that you most are like gritting your teeth and not wanting to do something about them is you're trying to experience something, is on like your shopping list, is one of my friends call it. Anyway, and so even if you're shouting no, they might stop giving you advice to do it, but it's likely that something is going to come and slam you in the face. And it's not going to be them saying, baseball bat, but it will be the universe saying, baseball bat. And it's likely that if you listen, they will help you to just see the crack in the sidewalk and step over it, rather than trip and break your nose and skin your face, and and you still saw the crack and it still influenced your motion along the sidewalk. So there's that. And then the other one is, this is a big one. If you're looking for huge changes, which a lot of people are, request that they be gentle and request that they feel great.
Yes.
Because a lot of times when you're asking for a big change, a lot of people are resistant to making the change themselves, so then something will come and knock you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it could be really traumatic. And again, this isn't your angels making it happen, or your guides making it happen. This is the universe. But a lot of times people kind of blur the edges between what made what happen, and sometimes it's hard to tell. Like, you're not really sure.
Right.
So in any event, gentle and feels good.
Right.
Constantly. It's good to ask maybe several times a day if you need to.
Yeah, when you're working on a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that comes back to, too, communicating with your spirit guides about, so then an experience happens, and then checking in with them about it. I was asking for this, and this kind of thing happened. Give me clarity. That's be a good question to ask, especially if you feel like, hey, did you guys come hit me with that loss that I suddenly had, where I had to pay that ticket? What was up with that? And just asking for clarity, if you feel blocked about it, will be really beneficial.
Yeah. And they will tell you. This is more about tuning your receiver than it is them giving the message. They've been giving you messages your entire life. That's their work with you since before you were born. So they know you. This is more about us getting to know them.
Yes. So let's just take a moment and then we'll close. We've already done a lot, but Charis just said receivers. Let's just, as if flowers are opening, and let's open our receivers. So you can see little, perhaps flower buds, or you could see little electronic discs if you like more electronics. Whatever it is, opening to receive. I'm going to use flowers, opening as if receiving the sunlight to more easily receive messages, guidance from everything that's helpful, and just gently soak it in. And then we can close, thanking our spirit guides and everything for our highest vibration that helped today, surrounding ourselves in light.
Asking that our lives be beneficially impacted in gentle and lovely ways, and that our shifts toward a more paradisical existence are happening instantly. And so it is.
How?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
See you soon.